labyrinths of rock are full of surprises. 30 meters below the surface, submerged in the darkness of the caves and passageways, it is advisable to have experience and to be accompanied. There is a fine line between an unforgettable dive and a nightmare, which can be marked by an encounter with one of the many fish which take shelter among the rocks. Conger eels are potentially dangerous animals. Behind their thick, fleshy lips, they conceal a front row of long and powerful incisors, and behind these another row of smaller but very sharp conical teeth. These agile fish are usually not afraid of men, and there have been cases of attacks on divers when a shiny object on the diving equipment attracted the conger eel's attention and the diver became nervous. A good reason for requiring that the divers who enter the caves be experienced. In areas frequented by divers where underwater fishing is prohibited, the conger eels are so trusting that they can even be fed from the hand. But with an animal that can be more than 2 meters long and weigh more than 50 kilos, it is a good idea to be prudent and to keep the eel's head away from any vulnerable point. The presence of Carthaginians, Venetians and Romans on the islands in historical times has left the ocean beds sown with shipwrecks, which centuries of exposure to the ocean have converted into part of the ocean floor. The remains of these shipwrecks are the refuge of many species which use the thousands of hiding places offered by the hulls, the spars, and the former ship's objects. The timid scorpion sends out another warning with its poisonous fins that the intruder is going beyond the safety distance. Nearby, underneath some iron parts eaten away by the embedded algae, polyps and sponges, a lobster takes cover by blocking the entrance to its refuge with its powerful front pincers. Moray eels are also assiduous occupants of the sunken ships and of the small caves in the rocks on the ocean bed. Despite their ferocious appearance, they are timid fish which are only dangerous when forced to defend themselves. But their fear-inspiring faces have given them a terrible reputation, while their neighbors, the conger eels, much more dangerous to man, are not considered a threat. The eels generally hide themselves and rest during the day and go out fishing at night. Their bathymetric distribution ranges from just over 1 meter deep to more than 1,000 meters, a range exceeding the continental slope. The arrival of divers draws one of them out of its hiding place in search of a piece of fish, which is sometimes offered by visitors. As inside the caves, contact with an eel requires a certain degree of experience, since the fish's curiosity is unnerving, and if one gives in to panic and scares the eel, it may feel threatened and attack. The curious eel smells the piece of fish being offered, but before accepting it, carefully looks over the generous visitor until it is sure that the enormous and awkward neoprene-covered creature is not a threat. When its trust has been won, the eel becomes a curious and entertaining playmate to the delight of the divers. After centuries of uninterrupted fishing, 10 years of truce with the Cabrera ocean bed have been sufficient to allow its species to begin trusting man. The Mediterranean is a sea closed in by 3 continents, making its waters more susceptible to pollution. The Cabrera Archipelago National Park is an example of its potential and its beauty, but also of the fragility of this threatened ecosystem, which requires the joint effort of all bordering countries to guarantee its future.